The stomach acid connection. The stomach acid connection. Yeah, the stomach acid connection to leaky gut, SIBO and GERD. Have you heard? The tram call them application.
Hydrochloric acid is the acid in our stomach that breaks down our food, kills harmful bacteria, and triggers a cascade of other digestive functions. Believe it or not, there is a connection between leaky gut, SIBO, and GERD, and the strength of your stomach acid. So I'm going to talk to you about what that is and how you can fix it naturally. I used to think my stomach acid was doing just fine. Then I find out it's not doing anything at all. Like my gym membership. If your stomach is not making sufficient acid, a lot can go wrong. Let's talk about GERD first. GERD stands for gastroesophageal reflux disease, basically heartburn. It's like a little campfire for your food pipe, but nobody's bringing the marshmallows. When stomach acid is too low, the food that's in there is not being broken down all of the way. So you have undigested food particles floating in your stomach. Now, when this happens, the pressure builds up in the stomach, causing an eruption. And the lava is basically your acid and regret. Because the food is staying in there longer than necessary, this pressure builds and builds. So if we have strong hydrochloric acid, we will not have this issue. The food can get broken down in a reasonable amount of time, and it can get broken down thoroughly. But because acid is too low, heartburn occurs. Now, a lot of people think it's because acid is too high, but that is actually not the case. So taking acid blockers will actually exacerbate this problem and prolong this problem. Now, the next condition is SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. The connection between SIBO and low stomach acid is that, again, the low stomach acid is unable to digest food particles. So these food particles actually do not get completely broken down and pass directly into the small intestine where they're not supposed to be. Now, in the small intestine, they sit and they ferment, causing an invitation to bring bacteria in to break those down further. Now, the bacteria would love to eat the garbage that's in your small intestine because that's what it does best. It's there to help you. It's there to further break down what your body could not break down on its own due to the low acid. So a proliferation of bacteria come in to help your body further break down the undigested food, and that causes bacterial overgrowth. But the bacteria themselves produce waste. So the more bacteria you have, the more bacterial waste you have in your small intestine, and this can cause pain, bloating, and gas. Now we're going to move on to leaky gut. You have the bacteria in your small intestine, and the bacteria is producing waste. This waste irritates the lining of the small intestine. And when this goes on for a prolonged period of time, the waste will irritate the small intestine enough to where the permeability of the small intestine will open, causing the barrier that's there between the small intestine and your bloodstream to open. So let's talk about things that should have a barrier.
And now, things that should have a barrier with your host, Mel.
1.
Tuna fish on an airplane. It needs a barrier.
2. Those huge gaps in public restroom stalls, they need a barrier. And 3. The small intestine. These are all things that are supposed to have a barrier, and if your small intestine's barrier is broken, this causes a lot of problems because things that should not be in the bloodstream do get into the bloodstream. And this causes symptoms that go far beyond just gut discomfort. You could have skin problems, you could have joint issues, you could have fatigue. These are all things that are very common with leaky gut. So what is one to do? Let's talk about solutions. Solution number 1 is to eat God's food. God's food is the food grown from the earth. Think fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds. Gut issues often emanate from us putting things into the gut that really shouldn't be there. And irritants of the gut include things like gluten or pasteurized dairy, for instance. Those are very common irritants to the gut. So when you take those foods out of the equation and do not eat those foods, like breads and cheeses and milk and things like that, your gut has an opportunity to start repairing itself. We want to take out the irritants and bring in the things that soothe and nourish the gut and encourage it to heal. We know that the food that's grown from the earth is the food that we are meant to eat. This is food that is not restaurant food, it's not junk food, it's not fast food, it's not processed food. These are all foods that do irritate the gut. And so we want to eliminate these foods and bring in more natural foods. God's food will bring your body into a homeostatic state, which means you'll be in balance with nature. And we want to be in balance because when you're in balance, you feel better, you look better, you have more energy, and life is just so much better. You're so much happier, you treat others better, and you make this world a better place when you eat God's food. Solution number 2 is to build your hydrochloric acid. Now, the good news is that when we eat God's food, we are doing this. We're building our hydrochloric acid back up because the hydrochloric acid is not wasting its time on food that shouldn't be in the gut, like the processed foods and the junk foods and the restaurant foods and processed foods, and the breads and the cheeses and the milk and stuff like that. Now, some of the ways to do this, in addition to eating the right food, is to chew your food thoroughly. This is so important, and it's something that we do not do. We need to be chewing our food until it's liquefied. This is not taught. Nobody tells us this is how we're supposed to chew food, but everyone does not chew their food enough. Nobody chews their food until it's liquid in the mouth to let it go down. We need to make it easier on the body to do its job, and the way we do that is by chewing the food until it's totally liquid. The stomach does not have teeth, so the stomach can't chew up our food for us. The stomach can't chew up food that has been swallowed by us that we didn't chew. So we need to be chewing our food. Make sure it's liquefied in your mouth before you swallow. This is so important. Another key way to strengthen your hydrochloric acid is to not drink water with your meals. Eat your meals independent of any liquids, especially water. Liquids will dilute the acidity of your hydrochloric acid, and we do not want any dilution. We want the acid to be as strong as possible. Cease drinking at least 30 minutes before you eat your meal. And when you're done eating, don't have any liquids or especially any water, at least 45 minutes to an hour after you have eaten. You want to give your hydrochloric acid a chance to do its job on its own without dilution. So stop drinking with your meals. Another thing you can do to stimulate hydrochloric acid production is to use bitters before your meals. Digestive bitters consist of things like dandelion, orange peel, or artichoke. These are all found in tincture form at a health food store. Put a little tincture on your tongue before you eat, and this will stimulate the hydrochloric acid activity in your stomach because that's what the bitters do. You could take a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar with a teaspoon of water and have that be your bitter before you eat. Again, this will strengthen and stimulate your hydrochloric acid to start working on its own. If you have ulcers, do not use the apple cider vinegar. It can inflame the ulcer activity a little bit. So use caution with this if you have ulcers. Another solution is to take a supplement called Betaine hydrochloride. Betaine hydrochloride acts as an additional acid for your stomach. And another tip I have is to reduce your stress levels. Stress will kill your hydrochloric acid production. It's important to breathe deeply before you have a meal to put your body in a rest and digest state. This is our parasympathetic state, and it's very important for adequate digestion and to really make sure that you have good hydrochloric acid production when you eat so that you can digest and assimilate your foods appropriately. So get rid of the stress, do what you can to stay relaxed, and really practice some deep breathing techniques before you go to eat. This will all help boost your hydrochloric acid and help you with the symptoms you're experiencing, whether they be GERD symptoms, SIBO, or leaky gut. If you like this video, check out my other videos that have to do with a range of different health topics with natural solutions. You are a blessing. God's food.
The stomach acid connection.